if I had a U.S. vote. It's funny, it's an interesting question because, I mean, if you think about it, it's not really a question of Trump or Harris anymore. Because, again, that's like just saying, like, you're voting for one person versus another person.
Right.
Kind of the same way it is here in Canada. We left that a long time ago. It's a difference of ideologies now. So now it's about ideology. It's about sanity versus insanity is really what it comes down to, is what it boils down to. If you're really paying attention, if you're listening to it. But again, if you're talking about my vote, if I had my vote in the US, again, you're not necessarily voting for a Republican or a Democrat thing. You're voting kingdom. As a believer, if you do truly say you walk with Christ, then he's your vote. And that's what it is. And if you're looking at the Great Commission, and if you're really walking that out, you have to vote the policies that are going to drive that forward.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. You have to look at that. You have to look at everything from a kingdom mindset.
True.
And once you do that, that will shift everything. And you vote based on that. You don't vote based on what you feel. You vote based on what is going to build his kingdom above everything else.
Right. Well, I think that's the divide right now in the U.S. is that you have Christians that are going in one party because they believe one party is not as good, or they'll vote. They're voting for Harris because they think Trump is not a racist, or you'll have Republicans who think I'm voting for Trump because the system in Democrats is not good.
Right.
Why is that? How do you break that divide? That's a crazy thing.
Well, again, it's for a lot of people, you're not going to be able to necessarily break that divide. It's really, you got to do it. I mean, the funny thing is this, because if you're looking at things from like perspective of a lot of people, it's very tough. Like there's an old saying that like a human being is an amazing thing. Made in God's image. A human being is able to think in ways that are incredible. They can do many feats and wonderful things, but people are stupid. You know what I'm saying? You get enough of them together and you end up with a real stupid thing at the end of the day. You break it one person at a time. You can't necessarily go at a mass crowd, and it doesn't really work that way. And that's why even social media is a tough thing, or I don't really mess around with that too much, because again, you're speaking to millions of people at once. It's really, you have to kind of do it on a person by person level. You have to get one-on-one and have real conversations with real people, and try to get into understand their mindset, understand where they're coming from, and really try to break it down to what influences are in their lives to make them think that way. When someone says, like, oh, I believe, this guy's a racist. Okay. All right, good. Well, let me ask you this. How did you come to that conclusion? And number two, what is your evidence for that? And number three, have you ever considered maybe that you're wrong?
Right. And
so again, but you can't have those in large conversations. You got to have that on a one-by-one basis. Kind of like what you're doing. Yeah. What do you believe is way more important. You get down to what it is that you believe, and understanding that your vote matters. Is a big part of it. And again, I think that's one of the biggest issues, especially when it comes to, I saw a stat the other day that said only 51% of believers vote. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's a scary, scary thing. So here, 51% of believers don't exercise their ability to exercise change, or to affect change in a way, in a political spectrum, because they feel that, well, that's over there. That's for them, but that's not part of me. No, you're part of that.
Yeah.
You're part of that. Don't not vote and then come back later and complain about anything, because you gave that up.
Yeah.
If you don't vote, if you don't take a stand, then you've given up your right to be able to complain about it later. So that's it. That's where I'll leave that.